Hey guys, it's Shana Meyerson with YOGAthletica in Los Angeles, California, here today in a very weird place in the middle of my living room, not really in the middle of the living room, on the edge of the living room, to my stairs, to my loft. An amazing picture by Brooke Harker behind me. Yay, Brooke. And today I want to talk to you about proprioception. So proprioception is this really big word you're going to hear in yoga a lot that you may or may not understand what it is. Honestly, it's not that complicated, but today I want to talk about not just what proprioception is, but how you can improve your proprioception for, among other things, handstands. I love handstands. Oh my God, that's like the worst hand heart ever. So we're going to pretend I didn't even try that. I love handstands, guys, and they rely very, very heavily on proprioception. So first of all, what is proprioception? Oh, look, new microphone. Hopefully this works well. Proprioception means understanding where your body is in space. Now, proprioception is very easy if you could look at your hand. Now I know where my hand is in space. However, if my hand is behind me, I may not have as great of an understanding. Overall, we tend to have pretty good sense of proprioception for the most part with our hands because we use our hands so much to accomplish things. But when it comes to handstands, things get a little bit more complicated because the legs in the air are a blind spot. Now, when I'm talking about proprioception in yoga, by no means is this limited to handstands, nor is it limited to legs. Another huge blind spot when it comes to proprioception is the hips, right? A lot of times we do, particularly in like, say, an asymmetrical forward bend, where are my hips in space? Am I dropping one hip? Are my hips parallel? So that would be another really important understanding of when proprioception is being used. Now, today I'm going to give you just some tips on how to improve your proprioception, because when you improve your proprioception, you improve your yoga, including your handstands. And by the way, if you're not already familiar with my Handstand Breakthrough Revolution course, if you really, really love handstands, you're going to want to join it. And if you really love I Love Handstands upside down shirts, link is in the description below. Okay, enough with the plugs. Let's talk about how I suggest and how I have mastered my proprioception so I can master the poses where I don't know where my body is in space. Now, the first thing that I recommend is that actually you're sort of looking at it. It is videotape yourself, okay? I know, I'm old. Maybe if you don't call it videotaping anymore, because we don't videotape. Video yourself, iPhone yourself, whatever it is, whatever the young people are saying these days, do that. And then analyze it over and over again. I actually do this all the time still, particularly right now. My hard proprioceptive work is with one-handed handstands. I know exactly what I need to do. I know exactly where my hips are not in the right place. How? Because I watched my videos of myself trying it over and over and over again. Okay. And so every time, especially if you videotape it many times, you're going to see we generally make the same mistakes over and over again. Like, so every single time I can say, oh, my hips are too far to the right, or my hips are too far to the left, or my shoulder isn't pressed in, or whatever it is, because particularly when you're upside down, our bodies aren't really trained, our minds aren't really trained to know where our bodies are in space. Why? Because as human beings, we were born to be upright, not upside down right. Not a word. Upside down, wrong. Whatever it is, it's confusing. It's confusing to the brain. And so first trick, look at yourself on video and try to shoot the same video over and over again if you're having a real trouble finding the balance in a pose, because usually you're going to be making the same mistakes every time. And by watching a video, you'll know exactly how to fix it. One fair warning, if your video is shooting like on reverse, like on a mirror, you got to make sure you're clear which side is your right and which side is your left. I know that sounds ridiculous, but believe me, I've had plenty of times where I'm like, wait, okay, so it's the one closer, like I'll say something like, oh, it's the leg that's closer to the window, for example. That will clarify, because sometimes it's hard to like get your mind straight, or hard to get my mind straight as to what is right and what is left. Okay, that's number one. Now, number two, now that you have the actual picture, like you've seen what it looks like, next thing you need to do is create that same picture in your mind. You need to visualize the pose and the alignments before you go into them, okay? When we have a picture in our mind of where our body needs to land, it makes a more informed decision of where each body part needs to go upon entry. So, number one, picture on your phone. Number two, picture it in your mind. Now, number three, when you're actually executing, when you're actually doing the pose, I want you to focus not just on the picture of the pose, right, as previously mentioned, but you also need to focus on the actual body part in question. So, for example, in most cases, it's the hips. It's the hips that we don't know where they are. Because remember, the legs are more of a balance element than they are the alignment element, particularly when it comes to handstands. It's hips over, shoulders over, wrists. And then the legs are used to sort of balance, like right, left, up, down, or whatever. So when you're going in, have a picture in your mind what it needs to look like, and then have a picture in your mind and really focus on that body part. Put words to it. My hips need to go over my shoulders, for example, or my hips need to lean to the right, centered with my shoulder, or my hips need to remain square to the ceiling and to the floor. So when you have these very, very specific instructions that carry you through your practice, it's going to make it easier to replicate. Now, number four, the more you practice, the easier it gets. It's funny, I work with so many people, and the first time that they do handstands, they literally don't know what is up, what is down, what is forward, what is back, what is ribs in, what is ribs out. In fact, if they are puffing their ribs, which most people do in the beginning in handstands, and I say pull the ribs in, they will actually stick them out even more, because proprioceptively, everything feels upside down and backwards. So if proprioception, if knowing where your body is in space, if making specific movements is very, very hard for you, don't worry. I promise it gets easier. Another word for this is muscle memory, right? So the more I repeat a process and the more I refine it, the more my muscles remember exactly what they need to do in order to find balance. My braids, on the other hand, don't always know what they need to do. We'll see how that goes with like the microphone, because sometimes like microphone hits the braid, it makes this sound and it's unpleasant. And okay, enough about the mic. Everyone's always on my case about mics. This is my fourth mic, so let's see how it goes. Okay, so make sure that you practice a lot, and that is going to help you. Then number five, if you want to increase your proprioception, get your body moving in as many different ways as possible. When your body gets used to moving every which way, then it will create its own intelligence, okay? Before people practice yoga, their body is used to, for example, moving always in a very linear or symmetrical fashion in general. So the more we practice nonlinear and asymmetrical movements and just weird movements, come on guys, let's admit it. Yoga is a whole bunch of weird movements. But the more we do it, the more intelligence our body creates so that it gets better and better at knowing where we are in space. I mean, we're Earth, right? Third planet from the sun. Third planet from the sun? Mercury, Venus, Mars? Earth? Fourth planet from the sun? Or is it Earth, Mars? Whatever. That's not the kind of space I'm talking about. I hope these tips help. I know they help me. Guys, if you love handstands, don't forget, check out my handstand breakthrough revolution. Details in the description below. This is Shana Meyerson with YOGAthletica in Los Angeles, California. Have an awesome day.